Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Administration case hearing for April 21, 2010. My name is Edith Fuentes, and I will be conducting the hearing as hearing officer. We have two cases today, and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. Let me just quickly go through our hearing procedure. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a variance shall be granted if four required findings are present. 1. That the strict application of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. 2. That there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. 3. That the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. And 4, that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. If the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria just described, then the planning administrator can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper. The hearing will proceed as follows. I will read a description of the application or the request, and then read reports received from other city departments and other letters or communications from interested parties. The case planner will make a brief presentation and overview of the case and will make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and any interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address, and this will be done within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to testimonies given by preceding speakers within a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or by submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. I would like to emphasize that the date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from our Building and Safety Section, Permit Services Center, located on the same floor of this building. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of these speaker forms, which have been provided by the front door, and submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to also inform everyone that the official proceedings of the planning administrator's hearing are recorded on tape as part of public record. Our first case is variance number PVAR 2009043. Location is 670 Glenmore Boulevard. This case was continued from our February 24, March 24th, and April 7th public hearing. Applicant is Shorig Yepremian. Owners are G. Woodhouse and J. Horin. Case planner is Roger Kiesel. This is an application for a standards variance to allow the construction of a new detached two-car garage, which will be 17 feet in height in connection with an existing single-family dwelling. The existing garage will be demolished as a result of the project, and the project is located at 670 Glenmore Boulevard in the R1R Restricted Residential Floor Area Ratio District 1, described as Lot 16, Block G, track number 7600. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. Roger, I'm assuming you're going to go through some of the notes we have on file, like the report from the arborist, or we can just make the announcement. It's on file.
Yeah, I can. The tree report, arborist report, had certain conditions.
Yes. Okay. So we have an indigenous tree report from Craig Crotty Arboriculture. We have an email from one of the neighbors, property owner of 668 Glenmore Boulevard. Basically in support of the application. Some more emails. Let's see. From Glendale Water and Power Electrical Engineering Section. Developer is responsible for providing GWP electric planners elevation plans for the new garage so they can verify the existing service cable clearance over the new garage. So I guess I'm just going to advise you to contact them and discuss this with them. Fire prevention. Their concern is that this is a high fire hazard area, and code requirements are fire sprinkler system and CBC Chapter 7A construction. Engineering section. Grading and drainage plan for engineering check. Method of discharge of on-site drainage shall be approved by the city engineer. Separate permits are required for all work performed within the public right-of-way, and the applicant shall bear all fees for the necessary permits and construction inspections. Applicant shall also comply with all NPDES requirements. We also have a report on file from Maintenance Services Administrator, so you may want to get a copy of that. Those are all the comments or major concerns. So, brief report and overview, Roger.
Okay, thanks. Good morning. The case before you is variance 2009-043. It's a variance to construct a new detached two-car garage that is 17 feet in height. Accessory buildings in the R1R zone cannot exceed a height of 12 feet or 15 feet when with a minimum 3 and 12 roof pitch. The project site is approximately 6,400 square feet and is located on the east side of Glenmore Boulevard. The site currently contains an approximately 1,600 square foot single-family house and a detached garage, and this garage will be demolished. Staff believes that the findings can be made to approve the variance with conditions. The existing detached garage will be demolished, and a new garage will be constructed in roughly the same location as the existing garage. The variance, again, is to allow an accessory structure to exceed the maximum height limit for this type of structure. Strictly applying the maximum height development standards for accessory structures in this case will result in practical difficulties inconsistent with the intent of the ordinance. The rear portion of the property is the steepest upslope portion of the site. This site characteristic requires the proposed garage to retain a significant amount of dirt and resulting in a 17-foot proposed height. The existing on-site development significantly limits locations of the proposed garage, or for a proposed garage. The area of the site in front or between the street and the existing house is not deep enough to accommodate a new garage, either attached or detached, without requiring approval of a variance from minimum front setback requirements. The existing house spans the width of the lot with the exception of the driveway, which is 8.5 feet wide, and so a new garage could not be accommodated in line with the existing house. And while the garage could be located west of its current proposed location and be reduced in height, this location would not enable compliance with the 25-foot outer radius required for accessing the garage without demolishing a portion of the existing residence. The severe slope at the rear of the subject site, along with constraints imposed from the existing location of the existing residence, are conditions applicable to the property that are unique to the subject site. The granting of the variance to allow construction of a 17-foot high accessory structure, the garage, will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the neighborhood. The existing garage is located basically in the same area as the proposed garage. The existing garage was built in 1932. There haven't been anything that would lead to it being detrimental at its present location, and the proposed location is very similar. The site arrangement where the garage is located in the front of the site and the house is located in the front of the site and the garage is located in the rear is common in the surrounding neighborhood. There are 3 mature coast live oak trees located on the adjacent property, and near the footprint of the proposed garage. The applicant did have a arborist report done, and the construction of the garage will need to comply with all the recommendations contained in the approved arborist report, which was dated March 22nd of this year and is in your file. Additionally, all work within the protected zone of affected trees will be required to be directed by the arborist of record. So the arborist who wrote the report will also need to direct the work within the protected zone of the trees. With the conditions contained in the staff report as well as the arborist report, granting the variance will not be injurious to improvements, oak trees, to the neighborhood. The granting the variance to allow construction of the proposed 17-foot high detached garage will not be contrary to the objectives of the ordinance. The objective of height limitations in residential zones is to ensure sufficient light and air circulation for the subject property as well as neighboring properties. It's also to prevent overdevelopment in areas that are traditionally less dense. As previously talked about, given the topography of the portion of the site on which the garage is proposed, the garage will appear actually much less than the actual 17-foot height limit, looking from the north, south, and east. From the west, the garage is approximately 100 feet from the street and steps back with the slope of the site, which will reduce the perceived height of the new garage. So the garage, while technically being 17 feet in height, will not appear to be that tall. Staff believes that all findings can be made regarding the project in a positive manner and recommends approval of the variance.
Okay. Thank you very much. Shorig Yepremian.
Ms. Fuentes, good morning. Staff, good morning as well. Shorik Yepremian, Yepremian Consulting. I'm the applicant on this variance application and also representing the current property owner, Mr. Greg Woodhouse, and his wife at today's hearing. They are also here present along with the project architect, Kurt Sturgill. Roger presented the project in detail, so I don't think I need to repeat most of it, but I have read the staff report, discussed the contents with the architect and the owners, and we do believe that the contents of the staff report are acceptable, along with the findings and the conditions that have been attached. As Roger indicated, there are 3 oak trees on near this property, Quercus agrifolia, to be specific, located on the south side of the property, which is actually on the neighbor's property on the south side. Staff believe that the demolition and the construction may impose some damage of the trees. They required an arborist report, which was prepared by Craig Crotty, submitted to staff, reviewed by the city's urban arborist, and they have provided 3 conditions which are part of the staff report. The arborist report indicated that the oak trees are in fair condition and they're all proposed to be retained. The report recommended that the existing garage wall to the south should remain in place, that portion of the wall that is below grade. The recommendations of the arborist and the city staff is acceptable by the property owner and the project architect. We also have submitted, as part of your record, and it should be in your file, a letter from the neighboring property owner who acknowledged the fact that the arborist was hired for this project and the recommendations acceptable to her. And that letter should be in your file as well. Should I go through the findings? The written findings were prepared along with the application and submitted.
Go ahead. Yeah.
If I can briefly go over it, the burden of proof is on the applicant, so I would like to go on record and indicate that. Number 1, that the strict application of the provisions of the ordinance would result in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the general purposes and intent of the ordinance. The existing single-family house and the detached 2-car garage were constructed in 1932. The project proposes to demolish the detached non-conforming 2-car garage at the rear of the house and build a new 2-car garage in the same area, except it's 2 feet away from the property line. The existing garage building is structurally unsafe due to its age and termite infiltration. To remove the garage forward to meet the height requirement would create a hardship inconsistent with the general purposes of the ordinance by reducing the turnaround radius, which would trigger another variance. Just like Roger indicated, if we move the garage forward, then an issue with the 25-foot radius, and that would trigger another variance if we had to meet the height requirement of the of the garage. The existing garage is substandard in size, and therefore, to meet the current code requirement, it would have to be relocated towards the back or front, which is physically impossible to accomplish. A 17-foot-high retaining wall is required to hold up the earth at the rear of the garage, which forces the overall height of the garage to be at 17 feet. The benefit, we argue, of a new and safe garage which can accommodate 2 cars is far more beneficial than maintaining a deteriorated and unsafe structure. Number 2, that there are exceptional circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved or to the intended use or development of the property that do not apply generally to other property in the same zone or neighborhood. The existing 6,435 square foot lot is only 128 feet deep, with a 5-foot utility easement at the rear of the property. The site also slopes up 23 feet from Glenmore front property line. Most of the slope is at the rear of the property, as you can see from the photographs or if you have visited the site. The garage was built at the time when interior dimensions were less, so it is a non-conforming existing garage. The lot width is only 55 feet, which limits the driveway turnaround radius if the project is built according to current code. Number 3, that the granting of the variance will not be materially detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvement in such zone or neighborhood in which the property is located. The surrounding neighborhood's interior setback, height characteristics, lot sizes are similar to the premises in question, and there already exists a mixture of structural heights. The proposed new garage will maintain the existing usable yard area and total open space, thereby preserving development's existing character. We believe there is an ample side yard area at the east side of the lot to accommodate the objectives of the side yard regulations. Furthermore, the existing 5-foot easement, which is at the rear of the property, and the slope at the rear provides ample space to accommodate the additional height without being detrimental to the adjacent properties. The property owner also collected some signatures from the immediate neighbors, and I would like to submit that for the record.
Thank you.
And finally, the granting of the variance will not be contrary to objectives of the ordinance. The standards applied to the property will be similar to those applied to other surrounding lots. Neighborhood setback, height, parking, floor area ratio, lot coverage, and aesthetic compatibility are goals consistent with the code objectives or promoting the general welfare. Again, the proposed design is very much similar to what's existing, and it's compatible with the existing house as well. And that concludes the findings, and they're attached with the application and in your file.
Very good.
If there are any questions, both the project architect and the property owners are present.
Just for the record, we have a signed petition with 7 signatures from neighbors, basically in support of the variance applications. So 6, 7, 6, 8, 7. Okay. Do you know the existing height of the old garage? What a question. I was just wondering how, what's the difference?
$11 or $12,
11 or
according
12?
to the architect.
So the moving back of the garage to maintain the 25-foot length
Right.
necessitated the 17-foot high retaining wall, so you could kind of retain the uphill.
Correct.
Okay. I'm trying to get to.
Right, and
The
the
rational
photographs, the one I submitted shows the back portion
Yeah,
of the
going.
lot that slopes up.
Okay. And
There's also a topographical map up there that shows how steep.
how and I'm assuming the recommendation from the arborist is okay.
That's correct. We
And-
received the recommendations, discussed it with staff as well as the property owner and the
Yeah.
project architect.
Because he's recommending supervision if you need to prune some of the
Right.
roots and tissues of the tree, and also pruning the oak trees themselves.
Right.
Do you have any objection if I'm going to add a condition saying after cutting of the roots or trimming and pruning of the trees, like within a year or after a year, to submit a report just to make sure I'm trying to address the concern of the next door neighbor who owns a tree, just to make sure that after 1 year the trees are really doing well and not hurt by the cutting of those. Just a
Can-
follow-up report to say I've inspected the trees after 1 year and they all look okay, and that's it.
Who should prepare that report, Ms.
The
Fuentes?
same arborist that you have.
Okay. Let me talk to the property owner and the architect.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I also have a speaker card from Jennifer and Greg. Any one of you wants to say something or nothing? Good. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this application? Seeing none, closing comments?
Again, thank you, Ms. Fuentes, for this time. I talked to the property owner and the project architect, and they will be accepting that condition.
I'll still think about it, but, you
Okay.
know.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Roger, any closing comments?
I don't have any.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know. Thank you very much for coming. Our next case is variance number PVAR 2010-001. Location is 331 through 343 West Duran Street. Applicant is HHPDFO, the same owner, and the case planner is Eric Kraus. This is an application for a setback variance to allow 3 existing single-family dwelling units to encroach into the street front setback located at 331 to 343 West Duran Street in the R1250 high-density residential zone, described as lots 85 through 88, tract number 253. And let me just quickly go through some of the comments. Again, from Glendale Water and Power Electrical Engineering. The developer is responsible to pay the full cost of providing electric service to the project and responsible to pay the full cost to provide additional street lighting in the alley for the proposed condominium project, and that the development must maintain minimum horizontal safety clearance from existing overhead power lines in the alley. From fire prevention, verify ladder access to rescue windows, and clarify exiting to public right-of-way. Coordinate addressing plan with building and safety and fire. Code requirements will be fire sprinklers permit and fire alarm permit. We also have suggested condition from police about preferential parking within the area. So you may want to look into that. I have an interdepartmental memo from Glendale Water Department, so I'm not going to go through the entire memo, but in case they need a copy. Engineering. Track map is required. New survey monuments shall be set in accordance with the city standards. Sewer capacity increase fee shall be assessed if it is determined that the project will generate an increase in sewer flow based on the existing use of the site. Shoring permit from Building and Safety Division is required. A grading and drainage plan or Engineering Division's review and approval is required. Method of discharge of all on-site drainage shall be approved by the city engineer. Applicants shall perform several street improvements along the entire frontage of the property on Duran and the first alley northerly of Duran per city standards. A dual sump pump design is required for any basement or subterranean parking. Separate permits are required for all work within the public right-of-way, and the applicant shall bear all fees for the necessary permits and construction inspection. And the applicant shall comply with all NPDES requirements. Additional requirements may be required after the initial submittal of the final engineering plans for building plans check. From integrated waste, applicant must comply with the Glendale Municipal Construction and Demolition Waste Reduction and Recycling Plans. For any questions, you may contact them. Maintenance services. They have some recommendation regarding removal and planting of street trees and wastewater development. And also a memo from Traffic and Transportation Administration. Okay. Eric.
Thank you, Ms. Fuentes. The case before you today is PVAR 2010-001. The address is 331 through 343 West Orange Street. The applicant is Heritage Housing Partners, and the general plan designation is high-density residential. The zone is R1250, high-density residential. The variance application is for setback variance to allow the 3 existing single-family dwelling units included as part of their previously approved 60-unit affordable housing project to encroach in the street front setback. The minimum street front setback for the R1250 zone is 20 feet, and the minimum average is 23 feet. The applicant is requesting a minimum and average setback of approximately, not approximately, but 16 feet 6 inches. The variance request is in response to the comment you read earlier from Glendale Water and Power requiring a minimum horizontal safety clearance from existing power lines that are located right on the boundary of the property line of the project site. The condition requires that the entire project, including the new and the 3 existing single-family units, to move up towards the front property line and to shift it approximately 5 feet. The shifting, like I said, mentioned, required that the 3 existing single-family homes also be shifted up, and that would force them to be within the front setback area. I'd like to note that the exterior walls of the 3 existing buildings are actually do meet the minimum and average setback of 23 feet and a 20-foot minimum, 23-foot average. However, all 3 of them do have a covered porch. The one of them is actually enclosed right now, but that would be reversed back to a standard covered porch. And the porch itself is what's triggering the need for the front setback variance, because those would be encroaching within that area. And because they're covered, they're considered kind of the building line under the zoning code. And in addition to the moving the whole project up the 5 feet to meet the safety horizontal distance from the GWP, there was a mitigation measure imposed on the project that required the 3 existing single-family homes to maintain their historic integrity, requiring that they meet certain state standards in order to meet that requirement. So the covered porch is kind of an integral part of the design of the 3 buildings, is why they're going to be maintained for the project. Staff believes that the required findings for approval of the setback variance can be made and recommends that the planning hearing officer approve the requested variance. Thank you.
Okay, just for information or clarification purposes, the 3 existing single-family residences are going to be moved forward.
That's correct, yeah.
And are they designated as, or
They were determined
found to be historical?
I didn't mean to interrupt. They were determined to be eligible for listing under the local registry.
Okay. And the new affordable housing project will have 6 units, is that?
No,
or 3 plus 3?
It's 57 new units.
Oh, 57.
So it's 57 new units and the 3 existing, and this is a for-sale project as well.
57.
Yeah, so by shifting the new construction forward, required the 3 existing single-family homes also to be shifted forward, and that would, as part of that condition from GDP, also they need to maintain that clearance from the buildings as well. So.
Okay. I'm trying to rework the project description so it will capture the entire project. Actually, the application or project description should have said to allow 3 existing single-family dwelling units to be relocated or moved forward to encroach into the street front setback area in connection with the proposed 57 affordable housing unit project, because that will clarify why the 3 existing dwelling units are encroaching into the front setback area. Without mentioning the connection with the proposed 57 affordable housing project, it doesn't make any sense why all of a sudden the 3 existing units are encroaching within the front setback area. So what I'm going to do is the project description in the decision letter we may have to add that somewhere in there, that this project is in connection with the proposed 57 affordable housing units. Otherwise, just the 3 single-family dwelling units don't cut it, or will not convey the actual project or what's happening. Okay, somebody needs to present this case, so it's either Charles or Mike who will present the case.
Good morning. My name is Charles Loveman. I'm the Executive Director of Heritage Housing Partners. We're the applicant and the owner of a portion of the site. couple of,
If it's is it exactly the same as what we have up here?
I think there may be one or two that are different. But,
Okay.
Let's face up.
May wanna facing them. Yeah, I can see it from the.
Well, they know
That's
it.
fine.
They know it.
It's the public. I'm trying to show it, not.
Fair enough. Sorry. Let me quickly talk about the overall project and then the specifics regarding this variance request. So this is an overall 60-unit project, of which 57 of the 60 units are affordable home ownership. We're doing this project in conjunction with the City of Glendale. These 3 existing houses have been determined eligible for local listing, and at least under current plans, they'd be sold at market rate prices, and the remaining 57 would be sold at moderate income prices. We went before the City Council, the Redevelopment Commission, about a month ago and got our disposition development agreement approved with the City of Glendale. We have been through about a 9 or 10 month process with Building and Safety, and we are ready to pull our building permit. And we also have all of our financing in place, and we hope to break ground in the month of May. So we're pretty much ready to go, subject to the disposition of this one issue. What precipitated this was the discovery fairly late in the processing of the project, at least from our standpoint, that there was a high tension or high voltage power line in the alley, and that necessitated moving the entire project forward. The diagram that's shown on the upper left behind you shows how the new construction units are in relation to the 3 single-family units in the front. The spacing between the new construction units is at minimum distances as per the building code. So when we were told by the power department that we needed to push the entire project forward basically about 5 feet, we couldn't really minimize the spaces between the new units anymore. So the only place to basically catch up that missing 5 feet of distance was from the front setback. So that's the first thing to note. And as I said, we actually were kind of in plan check. So we had been through the planning review and design review before we found out from the power department that actually was a condition that had to be dealt with. The second thing is regarding the 3 existing units. Those 3 existing units have been determined eligible for local listing. We will probably in the next week or so be formally applying to have those 3 structures listed with the City of Glendale. I should note that our historic preservation consultant is here in the audience, and if you have questions of her about the impact of moving these buildings 5 feet forward on their eligibility, we can answer those questions. You can see from the photos on the wall behind you as well that 2 of the 3 structures have open porches, and the one in the middle has an enclosed porch. But as part of our effort to bring these buildings back to their original historic look, we will take the building in the middle and unenclose the porch and bring that back to original. So it'll be 3 enclosed porches. As Eric said, we wouldn't need the variance if we were measuring the setback distance to the front wall, but because those porches are enclosed, that does encroach. So one of the things we did when we realized we needed the variance is we looked at the average setback distance on the whole street. I think there's a drawing up there, but we concluded, and I think the city concurred, that all the other structures on the street, the average setback distance is 18 feet, which is just about a foot or so from the front of the porches. Again, to the building wall, we're at 23 feet. So in terms of how it really appears as a building, as a street wall kind of condition, we think we actually are behind the prevailing existing setback condition. And then we have told the city when we have these enclosed porches that we are willing to put a condition that runs with title, runs with the land in our CC&Rs, that those porches could never be enclosed. again, so that that way we'll always have the openness and the appearance that we're really not really not changing the rhythm of the street in terms of setback. And if we're successful in getting the buildings listed with the city, that will also put yet another barrier about ever being able to enclose the porches. So, we think we have exceptional circumstances because of the power line. We think that, as Eric pointed out, this condition does not appear everywhere in the zoning district. It's sort of specially applied to properties that are on this side of Doran and have the power line going down the alley. We don't think granting the variance will materially be detrimental to the public welfare because we're really consistent with the prevailing setback that's there on the street. And then also we are willing to put in conditions so that those porches are always open and we really have the feel of a 23-foot setback, although the way the ordinance reads, it's an 18-foot setback, or 16-foot setback. So thank you. And again, we've got our historic preservation consultant if you have questions.
I just wanted to find out if the paperwork is ready to file the application for listing, or are you still working?
We probably will be filing next week.
That's good. That's good to know. I just want to make sure we're
ready.
On the track, yes.
I'm the holdup.
Thank you. Mike Fortney?
Good morning, Ms. Fuentes.
Good morning.
Mike Fortney, the Housing Project Manager for the city. I just wanted to speak briefly in support of the project. CRNH is very much in support of the project. As Charles had alluded to, we approved the project with a disposition development agreement March 16th. So we are putting in a total of $13 million at construction for the project, 8 of which will remain as permanent financing for the project. So the project, the 60-unit project, which is 57 new construction, and then the 3 existing homes that are subject to this variance application. So in addition to being in support of the project, we're also in support of this action today. Without this, the rehab units, the existing units, would be squeezed up against these new units. Right. And I think that would make the units less desirable, less marketable, and the marketability of those units plays into the overall feasibility of the project financially. So we're very much in support of the action. Okay.
I can tell. Thank you. This project has been in the works for almost 2 years now, right? Okay. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak in support or in opposition to this project? Anybody else want to say something? No? Closing comments, Mr. Charles?
We're fine. These are the listing applications ready to go.
I just want to make sure. Okay. Eric?
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Good. And I like this. Basically, the 57-unit project itself is in compliance with all zoning code requirements and everything.
Well, they did get one variance early on in the process, and that was for stories because the rear of the property. But because they shifted you're correct. But because they shifted the project forward, that they no longer need that variance. So.
That's what I'm saying. It's in total compliance with the code, except for the moving of the existing structure. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, I think we're finally moving along. And with that, I'm going to go ahead, take this case under submission, and we'll let you know as fast as I can. Thank you very much for coming, and I'm closing the public hearing at 10:25 in the morning.